Hello and good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to this week's new episode of X Vlog Live. I'm your host, Mr. BoomStick XL, and today I have the pleasure of hanging out with one half of PM in the PM, among many shows that he does on these YouTube streets. Mav, what's going on, brother? Welcome to the program. How you feeling?
Not bad, man. It's been pretty good. Just staying busy, working, and having fun, playing games when I can. Been playing a lot of Midnight Suns and Warzone.
I
So
bought it and I didn't even start it, dude. It's just, man, too many games, dude.
there is
And
too many games, but it's not gonna stop. Boom,
it's not gonna stop.
not gonna stop
Yeah,
anytime
we're,
soon.
we're gonna actually get into that because we have a lot of topics. A lot of smaller little ones that we're gonna start off with, and of course the big one is Xbox gamers are greedy. I think maybe all gamers are greedy, and that we
Yeah,
want more. And we know that there are 8 games coming for Xbox in the first 6 months of the year, and they're all big. A lot of RTSs. Now I know Pong Soul, who's
yes,
listening, is going to be very excited for that. But and when you pile on, right, some of the things that we don't know, and some of the Game Pass launches, like for instance, Stalker 2, um, the one from the Russian studio that's like BioShock. You have just so many games coming to Game Pass that as gamers we're just not going to have enough time. So is it enough? The answer is very simply yes. We're going to get that. We're going to break that down momentarily. Want to shout out the ridiculous amount of people already here. Already 100 people in the chat. That is tremendous. Again, this is a small show. We are growing it, and we hope that you are hanging out and enjoying it with some Evil West gameplay. One of my favorite games of last year. I have not beaten it yet, like I haven't beaten a lot of games, Mav. It's just my cardinal sin of 2022 is starting too many games, not finishing them, and in some cases not even starting them. Need for Speed Unbound, I haven't even put on. I bought it. Midnight Suns is
so
another
good.
one. Yeah, it's a shame. It's a shame. But listen, let's start with one of the smaller topics, and that is GoldenEye 007. Obviously, this is the game that was originally launched on the Nintendo 64. I remember sitting around the TV with my brother and my friends playing 4-screen co-op that ran at probably 2 frames per second, but we loved it then. We would probably enjoy it now. Well, we have a story that I pulled from twistedvoxel.com where GoldenEye is rumored, folks, to be dropping into Xbox Game Pass at the end of January. And guess what? Well, we are coming up on the end of January very, very soon. Now, obviously, they pulled this story from a Spanish YouTuber who I follow, and he follows me, and he has his ear to the ground. He is pretty damn incredible. You should follow him. It's Extras One STV on Twitter. I'm going to bring it up right now and give you his at so you can follow him. It's at EXTAS1STV. And he posted this the other day that 007 will be dropping into Xbox Game Pass at the end of January. Now, granted, this isn't a from the ground up remake. It's from what I understand, how it's been explained to me, it's going to be like, if you remember the Xbox 360 arcade days, it's going to be like an arcade version. I don't think you're going to have ray
Yeah,
tracing and 120 frames per second. But if you are a fan of GoldenEye, Mav, and I am, because I had the original, I was there waiting in line when it first launched. That's how old I am, folks. Yes, I'm that old. I'm excited to play this. Unfortunately, one of the downsizes to this particular release, folks, is there's no multiplayer, which seems bonkers. I don't understand how that happened. Nintendo Switch, though, they have the multiplayer.
yeah.
I don't understand how that
So
happened.
from what I
Listen,
understand, Boom, I think like the 64 version is like almost like a carbon copy of what the Switch is getting,
yeah,
and the Switch is using their like same thing they do with the Switch, the Nintendo's online service, where like they can trick. consoles into thinking that they're like um linked, right? So
Right.
that's how this working on Nintendo. But I think the Xbox version is a little bit more redone with controls
Yeah,
and stuff
it's
like
gonna look
that.
more modern, if
So
you will.
I
Yeah.
think so. It's like two different versions of the game. So I'm all for that. I do wish there was multiplayer. It does suck not to be able to play that because that was my most excited thing about this. But my mind when I think about what to expect from GoldenEye would be close to what we got with the Perfect Dark that's in Rare Replay, right?
And that
Um,
was fine. I mean,
yeah,
it's an
it's
older
fun.
game, but if you're a fan of the series, what you wouldn't care, and I didn't care when I played that either.
Yeah, I'll. This is something I'll play for a little while, kind of have some fun with it, and then for like maybe an hour or two, and then probably be done with it. Be honest with you, but it's still a game, and there will be some people that want to go down memory lane and have a blast with it for sure.
For me personally, I would definitely play this from start to finish. That's just me.
Yeah,
It's something like I said, the game for me as an OG gamer, it means something. The fact that we're getting to play an updated version of something that I had so much fun with my brother and my
hmm
friends. Um, I'm definitely going to play through it.
yeah,
I like the original a lot. I beat it multiple times because that's what you did. Remember, back in the days, we weren't
oh
as
yeah,
privy to games as we are now. Like now, unfortunately, gamers are spoiled because there's literally so many games, and unfortunately, because of that, we don't really take into account or appreciate sometimes that we have so many games at our disposal. Back in the days, folks, you used to get maybe 1 or 2 games per 6 months, maybe,
yeah,
right? Maybe you'd see a year where 5 games released, and you're like, wow, that's a banger year. You know what I'm saying?
yeah,
But listen, at the end of the day, not the biggest story of the day, something small to kind of just start us off. I'm excited for it. It's coming into Xbox Game Pass day and date when it drops, which I think is another big aspect of it. We're not expected as Xbox gamers to pay for it. I mean, technically, we are paying for it, but we're just not dishing out of our pockets. It just comes across from your subscription, and I think that in itself is a huge deal.
yeah.
Again, if it's not your bag, you don't have to play it. You don't even have to press the download button. You simply could just play something else and move on and be like, well, it's just not for me. And that's the magic, folks.
Yeah. And
That is the magic of.
wasn't Rare Replay at one point in Games with Gold?
Yeah, I believe it was.
I
Yes.
I think it was. I'm not 100% on that, but the cool thing is if you have Rare Replay, even if you don't have Game Pass, that this is going to be added to that.
Yeah.
So you get it even just if you own Rare Replay. So there'll be a lot of people that get access to this, whether you have Game Pass or not, as well. So um, it can't be too expensive either. I would think if you don't have Rare Replay. How much is Rare Replay right now? Uh,
Oh, probably $20
20,
maybe.
30 bucks. Yeah, I
Yeah,
don't know.
yeah.
Yeah, Calorie in the chat says Rare Replay is usually like 11 bucks. Yeah,
Oh,
so I mean,
wow. Well, there you go.
yeah,
Yeah.
you're
Well,
the chat was talking about your gameplay footage here, saying it looks like it's running on a Pentium 4.
yeah, I'm actually gonna stop it. Well, listen, in my area, it's piss and rain here, folks.
Yeah,
So I'm just gonna go full screen for us today. Yeah, I'm looking at it right now, and it does look like I'm running on a Pentium 4 when of course I'm not.
yeah,
It is, listen, as long as you can hear us and you can see us, that's what you're here for. I usually like the gameplay. My connection is, I mean, I have top tier connection, but it's been such bad weather here that I honestly think that it is affecting the
internet.
and now it's back to normal. You know what, folks? Look, as long as we don't lose power, as long as I have lights on and I can talk and you can hear me, we'll roll we'll roll it that way. But listen, Mav, I want to get into one of the bigger stories. I dropped it in to the DM. I'm going to literally pull it up as we speak. Folks, we have some new information that comes the way of Tom Warren, and it's pretty interesting. Of course, it's regarding, what's going on with, of course, the ABK deal. Now, obviously, There was a positive decision in Chile, and we have some information on it that's pretty telling. That's pretty incredible. I will say this: when I pull up the actual document, which I'm going to do right now, this is proof that many circles that are watching and reading what's going on with the world are seeing that exactly what we're seeing, right? And I want to read a couple of excerpts from that, and I want to get your opinion on it because I think that again, this is not the biggest story of the day. I think being that Tom Warren is reporting on this of The Verge, I think it's worthy of a conversation. And I want to read some of their insights from their investigation into what would happen if hypothetically Call of Duty was pulled from Sony, and we know that it's not, right? It says this, folks. In light of the foregoing, the division considers that deploying a potential strategy of partial or total blocking of PlayStation would imply, in a certain way, the trend towards which the market is projected and would generate deviations towards competing video games that they do to include the modality crossplay. The importance of crossplay for Call of Duty players is confirmed. For local consumers in the results of the survey, which indicates that 72% of Call of Duty players on consoles consider this incredibly relevant factor to choosing a primary device. It goes on to say, and this is where it gets interesting, Mav, if we analyze the conduct that the merged entity could display with respect to Sony, we have, first of all, that Call of Duty is not the franchise that generates the highest income for PlayStation or for Sony. Illustrative of that by 2021 standards, Call of Duty represented 0 to 10% of total revenue revenue received by Sony, behind FIFA and Fortnite. Therefore, the removal of Call of Duty from the portfolio of titles available on this platform, while it could have some impact on the company's revenue, would not deprive Sony of its main source of income. But it actually goes on to say, and this is where it gets interesting, even more interesting. Actually, they said that twice. I'm sorry. The damage at the profit level for console providers such as Sony is even more limited if one considers that at least the in the Chilean market, the mass majority of Call of Duty players faced with indefinite unavailability of said franchise would not change platforms and would simply choose another video game to play. And this is coming from a survey, folks, that they did with their people. Now, again, remember, these entities that are making these decisions on whether or not to pass or to attempt to block this deal usually are talking about their regions. Now, in some of the document, and again, I'm not going to read the whole thing, folks. I got another excerpt to read that's, again, relevant, but I don't want to read the whole document. I will post this in the show notes if you want to read it for yourself. It's a lot. There's a lot here. They do speak broadly, Mav, of other markets, but they are obviously concerned with the Chilean market. But this is even more important, and you want to wonder what where does Call of Duty versus, let's say, something like Grand Theft Auto come into play, which is a more sought after or a more important franchise. Well, this should spell it out for you. Similarly, when asked, based on your experience, now this is what they're asking the people of this country. Similarly, when asked, based on your experience as a video game player, rate the following contents from essential to highly dispensable, and 65% considered the title Grand Theft Auto essential and not dispensable, and 62% expressed such opinion regarding Call of Duty, saying it is expendable. It should be noted that these results are even more telling considering that the respondent base was made up of Call of Duty players and not necessarily Grand Theft Auto players. Thus, the importance of Grand Theft Auto could be underestimated in view of those who make up the survey example. Again, we've all reported on this, Mav. We've been talking about it till we're blue in the face. The reality is that this deal is going to pass. Obviously, we're still waiting for the EU. We're still waiting for the CMA, and we're obviously the FTC. Well, they're eventually going to have to bend the knee because they're going to waste millions and millions of taxpayer dollars that we pay here in this country for what is seen to be utter rubbish and a political agenda, if you will, when it comes to the FTC. With this new report coming out of Chile, what does this say for you in regards to your confidence of this deal getting done when it's starting to see every week we're getting a new report from a different country that says, yeah, this is not that big of a deal. It's just business and it's market competition.
Yeah, I think with Chile in itself doesn't raise or lower my confidence level because they're acting within common sense and basing things on facts and reason. Whereas the regulators, or especially the FTC right now, is not even like trying to attempt to have any kind of common sense or anything like that. Now, I'm still really confident that the deal's getting through, mainly because of what's going on with Microsoft and the FTC right now, especially what's going on with the CMA and the EU. Because I think if they get the deal closed in those two markets, it's going to be a checkmate for Microsoft, right? And Chile is one of those like, okay, we expected that to go through. Now, what I find interesting is the talking points, right? The little notes added, and that adds more factual information, and gives Microsoft more ammunition. Things like Call of Duty was only 0 to 10% of their revenue for 2021, behind games like Fortnite, which kind of is against Sony's argument that Call of Duty's not replaceable. You can't replace Call of Duty. Call of Duty is one of a kind. If we don't have Call of Duty, we're going under, is pretty much what Sony's saying. Now, the funny thing is Microsoft plans to put Call of Duty on the PlayStation anyway. But the interesting thing here is Chile saying you don't even need to, right? Chile's like no concessions, nothing, right? We're just saying, hey, we look at the facts here, and the facts are that it's still going to be a competitive market. It may affect Sony some, but not to the fact where they're not going to be able to compete in the business. And they also talked about Nintendo and the fact that Nintendo is the number one console there. And guess what? They don't have Call of Duty either. So they're pretty much looking at it like, hey, without Call of Duty, it doesn't really matter. You can do whatever you want, Microsoft. We're approving this deal based on facts, based on numbers, based on common sense, based on reason. And they're not going with this whole political agenda. They're not going with any of this other stuff that happening with like the FTC or the posturing of the CMA or the EU as well, right? So I expected this from all these other countries, just to go through without a lot of uh, any problems. I am curious, like, what kind of discussions happen when these other countries approve these deals? Like, if these lawyers from Microsoft and are like, "Hey, we'll see what they said." I don't know if that takes place or not because they're supposed to all individually look at their markets. But the Chile statements there talked about Sony's revenue and how much money they make on different games and stuff, and that's a broader scope thing, right? That's a global thing. That's Sony as a whole. So if you're talking about only 0 to 10% of Call of Duty makes Sony, as opposed to Fortnite and these other games, which make more, then Sony's argument for me is, again, uh, lacks any kind of value. It doesn't hold any water. And this is another proof that if this was to go through all the way to court at the federal level, that this deal will get approved also. So I think right now where it's sitting at is the CMA and the EU are working on concessions and negotiations and that kind of stuff, and that's why we're having these delays and things like that. And once we find out what those are, and this deal gets actually signed off in those markets, maybe I think it was said April was the deadline there. Then at that point, the pressure's on the FTC to say to look at it and say, well, we better accept those same conditions. Otherwise, we're going to lose in court and get no concessions, right? In which
Yeah.
no other markets have approved any concessions. So, well, we'll see. Like the EU, CMA, there will be concessions there, and I think that the FTC will just match or mirror whatever that is, and that's just common sense, right? It's
Yeah, I
kind
mean,
of
look,
the way it's going.
at the end of the day, Mav, I think that what Microsoft has offered is excessive. Like 10
Oh yeah,
years of anything is crazy, and the fact that we have learned that they have offered Sony the Game Pass route in regards to having it show up in PlayStation Plus Premium. Now, obviously, that's not going to be for free. They're going to have to spend a significant amount of money. If you just look at how much money was made on Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 last holiday, right? Obviously, somewhat upwards of 70% of revenue was generated on the PlayStation, so they're going to have to spend some bucks to get that in there. Microsoft's not going to be like, hey, we're
yeah,
good friends. You can have it for free. They're going to have to pay upwards. And again, I'm not a business guy, folks. I don't have a degree, but I'm going to say that this could be one of those things that you see $1 billion being sent from Sony to Microsoft in order to get that in there, because that's $1 billion that Microsoft would lose if they just put it in there for free, and they're not going to do that. So they're going to have to pay. Sony will get their 30% of $1 billion that it could potentially make, and everyone walks away a winner. I'm even more encouraged
yeah,
when I start seeing even these smaller countries. Now, again, you have to understand Chile is a smaller, very very small country as opposed to something like, let's say, the United States or England, the EU or the CMA, who they represent. But that doesn't mean that they're any less important to the conversation. And I think ultimately, the only extra I can see happening in this, quote unquote concessions across the board, maybe something to the effect that they can't raise the price of Xbox Game Pass for X amount of years. And I think Microsoft would be okay with that.
yeah,
So again, maybe it's not world breaking news, but that should be coming in I would imagine in the next few weeks, starting with the CMA
yeah,
and the EU, and then eventually, if they do approve it, and you and I and many people in this community will be covering it live when that happens. Um, it's going to be a worthy of a conversation, and at that point, Mav, I think you and I both agree that the FTC will back off or bend the knee and accept concessions. And because obviously, it was originally it was a very hard stance when it was announced by the FTC that they were suing. Lena Khan herself said, "We're not in the business of making deals." Right? That's what she said. And then when
yeah.
it went to the first judge, the first hearing, which was just an evidence hearing, they were like, "Yeah, we
We're open
haven't
to
started
discussion now.
talking, but now we're open to discussions," because they know they're going to lose.
Yeah,
And I think that call to her, obviously she's the chair, she's the chairperson at the FTC, so she makes the decisions. But there is always someone in a higher seat than that, and maybe conversations were had. I don't know. I can't say for sure, but at the end of the day, look, the deal's going to get done, and if you compound, Mav, the year, and again, I said this last night, and I've said it on a couple other shows. On paper, folks, Microsoft is poised to potentially move into first place. They are poised to have the best year in the history of the franchise, which this year will be 23 years. They are poised to deliver on all of Phil Spencer's promises that he made when he took the lead job in 2017, and then obviously made those big announcements in 2018 at E3. All of that's coming to fruition. And speaking of Phil Spencer, well, today is his birthday. So a big shout out to the head honcho over at Xbox, one of the nicest guys. And folks, like I said this before, and I can say it now. I've had the pleasure last year of getting a chance to talk with him one on one in person. And it was absolutely astounding how incredibly down to earth the head of Microsoft Gaming is. Speaking to him, and I kid you not, folks, is literally like I was just talking to Mav, and he was open to any questions. Like, what? Yeah, any questions you want to ask. If you want to know what I asked him about, I
Did you
asked him
ask
about
him if he's bringing back Skillbound?
no, I asked him. I asked him about Banjo Kazooie,
Yeah,
and that's
I
what
knew you did. Yeah.
of course, if I have the opportunity, what do you think I'm going to take? It's going to
Yeah.
be that. But yeah, he's happy birthday to Phil Spencer, one of the nicest guys in gaming. And obviously, we talked about it last week. He was nominated by Variety as one of the top 500 people in the world. That's something, folks.
Yeah.
And he's gotten Man of the Year. He's won a lot of awards and well deserved. Like I said, I know that a lot of people get annoyed and wish that he would show his fangs, but Phil is Phil, and he has a way of doing things, and I agree with the way he does business. And again, I'm very happy of the direction the company is going, especially as an Xbox fan, and especially as someone who values, a person's way of how they treat others. That's like a big
Yeah.
thing for me,
Their
folks.
character, right?
His character is off the charts great. So shout out to him. And also Game Pass underscore daily. It's his birthday today, too. What's going on, brother? Retri, happy birthday.
Happy
And
birthday.
thanks for all the work that you're doing in this community, as well as, of course, being on the Xbox Factor podcast. But listen, Mav, we got to get to a Tom Warren story, folks. And this is breaking news. Um, Now, obviously, on January 25th, Microsoft has confirmed that they are going to have their developers direct. Now, this is a new direction for Microsoft's marketing. This is something that I have been asking for, Mav and everyone else that follows the brand as closely as we do. We've been asking for this, folks. We want better for our platform. Nothing wrong with that. And one of the bigger criticisms that have come the way of Microsoft, and I'd be one of those people on the sidelines criticizing them, professionally, of course, has been the lack of dates for games, right? Like that is a big,
Yeah.
big deal. Well, thanks to Tom Warren of The Verge, ladies and gentlemen, he posted this morning a German version of the Xbox Developer Direct announcement mentions, folks, that there will be release dates for Forza Motorsport, Redfall, and of course, Minecraft Legends. Now, I know there's going to be a lot of talk as to when are we going to get the Starfield release date. Because I'm a huge fan, like Pong Soul, who I'm very good friends with, of Todd Howard. That's something that Todd and that team are going to do. And that's it has been again. That's something else that came out of the confirmation from Aaron Greenberg, even the Starfield official Twitter account, that it's getting its own event. Like it's going to have its own 30 or 40-minute event. I think that is absolutely brilliant. That's exactly what the doctor ordered. You're going to get a full on, probably 10 or even 12, maybe even 15 minutes of actual live gameplay. And then, of course, they're going to close it out with maybe the announcement of a collector's edition. I hope so. And I would definitely be pre ordering that ASAP, and a release date, which, of course, Pong and you and myself and many people in this community seem to think that we're getting it on
Oh yeah.
3/23/23. That would be perfect. Let's talk about the date situation, Mav. You have talked about this on your many of your shows, and you are like myself. You've been critical of Xbox for not delivering the dates. Dates are important. It gives people something to look forward to, and these are games that were delayed from last year. What are your thoughts on the so-called cat out of the bag with the dates coming at this event?
Yeah, we've been predicting that they would have 2 release dates at this show. Originally, I thought it was probably gonna be Redfall and Starfield but then they said, "Well, Starfield's not at this show." They're making a separate show for Starfield to give it the deep dive, that it deserves, which also leads me to think that that game may be the first one to hit. because it said it's in the works. If it was like June, July, or even later, I don't know if we would get there would be a standalone show in the works now for Starfield, right? So that adds confidence to me for the March date. Because if they want to really hype that, you put that out first and you have that separate showcase for it. And then you give the attention to these games first before they get dwarfed by Starfield news, right? So these
Makes
games
perfect sense.
these
Yeah.
games are going to get the proper attention now with these release dates. Everybody's going to be hype about it, and then they're going to tell us probably when that Starfield show is going to be, and maybe it'll be a couple weeks before launch or so. That's what I would assume, but it is time to get some dates, right? And I have a little confidence now that these games may be sooner than what a lot of people were speculating about because everybody's like, "Oh, they're gonna get delayed. They're gonna get delayed because we don't have dates. It's been a long time since we got news, and they didn't feel confident where they were gonna hit the within 12-month time span from
Right.
last E3." But I'm gonna point to an Aaron Greenberg tweet that adds a little bit more fuel to this fire. Okay, because
Talk
Aaron
about it.
Greenberg yesterday had tweeted, "It's going to be a big year for us. It starts on January 25th as we take you inside our studios to see some of the games coming to Xbox, PC, Game Pass over the next few months,
Few
right?
is
The
the
next
key word.
few months, right?
Yes.
Now, then also we know what's at the show. We know it's Minecraft because they talked about it on the developer direct. It's gonna be Minecraft Legends, it's gonna be Elder Scrolls Online stuff, it's gonna be Redfall, and it's gonna be Forza Motorsport.
Yep.
So Aaron Greenberg's pretty much telling us that those games are coming out within the next few months, which is awesome. Now, few mean few means less than 5 to me, right? So I don't know. You're not going to say few if you mean 6 months away. You know, that's a little bit more than that. Now, you could read a little bit. Maybe I'm reading too much into his words there, but I think we have to sometimes with this stuff, especially if we want to have some fun speculation, if you know what I mean. But it seems
I like
like to
what you
me,
did there, my friend.
it seems like to me, our predictions beforehand of when we're trying to line this up now, March 23rd could be potentially Starfield, and then maybe May for Redfall, maybe June for Forza Motorsport. The fact that we're getting dates though for Forza, like that's like, is it sooner than
Huge.
that? Is
Yeah.
that sooner than June? But potentially, and we have to look at, okay, well, there's probably not another big show until E3, right? So is this a big show? We don't know exactly what it is, but this is big to us. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
This isn't going to be like a E3 size thing or anything like that, but this is going to be something I think we're going to have uh, more regular occurrences of, right? I think they're going to do a couple of these a year, probably. Maybe one here and then maybe one for later in the year, second half of the year as well. And then you have E3 in the middle. Then you have individual things for individual games, like the thing they're planning for Starfield, which I think we're going to see this marketing explosion on Starfield too, which I'm really excited for. I can't wait to see everything they do there. Instead of Oreos and stuff like that,
Yeah.
I want to see like Starfield. Remember like Halo Infinite, they go all out for Halo on marketing. It's like Mountain Dew cans and I mean like Taco Bell
Look,
giveaways. I mean
I
everything under the sun. It's crazy.
if I may, Mav, I just want to just pop in and reiterate what you're saying. Look, folks. First of all, if you tap just to see, this is one of the new merch shirts that are coming. I'm just gonna stand up so you guys take a look. This was done for me, and now I'm going to share it with the world, folks, because obviously people have been asking for quite some time about merch, and I'm going to finally deliver. My artist is working on it right now. My artist, like I own the poor guy. Ben Kenobi's working on a revamp from the whole channel. This design was from the Richter, and he did it as a gift for me. I'll stand up so you can take a look. This is one of the first shirts that is coming. It is Mr. BoomStick.
Ooh.
There you go, folks. That is the first merch shirt that will be up. I'm launching, Mrs. Boom and I will be launching a merch campaign once everything is done. I got a chance to take a look behind the curtain. The primetime gaming shirt that he did, oh, it is the chef's kiss. I cannot wait to
Nice.
see the other logos. But yeah, so I mean, look, getting to your point, Mav, there's something to be said about this particular game. Now, folks, if you disagree with me, what I'm about to say, I understand, but there has not been a fever's pitch for an Xbox game like the, let's say for instance the likes of Halo 3, where people lined up 2 days waiting at Best Buy or their favorite or GameStop to pick up the, the helmet, the cat helmet, and collector's edition, and the controllers and the console. Listen, folks, this game has been in the work for years. I don't know whether you saw In Exile tweeted something the other day
Yeah.
where it was a space backpack and a helmet. Now I don't know if that's the collector's edition, but their social media team is bonkers great. I what I want is what you want. I want a special edition console in white with the Starfield logo
Ooh.
on it. Make it. I don't care if it's a Series X or an S. I prefer the X because I have the Halo one. I'd love to buy another one, and it would be a Starfield one. I want controllers. I want special. I want a static, a screen for my when I turn on my Xbox, like they had for Halo Infinite. I want the works, and because it's Todd Howard, and this is his baby, man. This is what he's been trying to put together for decades. I want them to go all out, but please continue.
Yeah, I think Starfield's going to be the biggest game for Microsoft or Xbox since Halo CE.
Yeah, yeah,
I
yep.
mean, all the down years we've had, all the back and forth, right? Even though we've all been having fun and loving Xbox, like as a consensus over, the mass casual market and stuff, it's been a peg below where Sony's been and Nintendo as well, right? But if you think back to what really kicked off Microsoft and Xbox's success with gaming on the console market was Halo Combat Evolved, right? That just secured the future for Xbox. We may not be playing Xbox today if it wasn't for that game, right? Now, we went through the downturn since like the 2013 times, and then they started trying to slowly rebuild back up since 2016 to the point to where we are now, right? All these studios, all these games getting developed, and we are at the forefront of this new era for Xbox. And there's no game bigger to launch that with than Starfield, which is a new IP created from the king of Western RPGs, Todd Howard himself, right? As an exclusive to the ecosystem, it's going to be playable across all these different devices within the Xbox ecosystem. And I think it's going to potentially launch this to the stratosphere and really set the mark for what we should look forward to for the future of Xbox, right? Now, the key is you can't just have one off and then just be done for forever. So what do they have to deliver for us now? This year, Redfall, which if we saw those details in that Games Radar article, this game is going to be much bigger and better than anybody actually had any reason to expect.
Well, I mean, you heard what some of the testers were saying, right? Like, I'm not making this up. You've heard Jeff Grubb talk about this. You've heard Jez Corden talk about this. You've heard Tom Warren talk about this. These are all industry, content creation icons, folks. They have said publicly that the people that are testing out the game have said, and I quote, Bethesda has over delivered.
Yeah, on
If that's
Starfield
not
is
good
like
enough for you,
insane. Yeah,
folks, I don't know what is, brother. I don't
yeah.
know.
So you hit with Starfield. It's going to be a massive success, I think. Right? You follow that up immediately with another massive success potentially with Redfall, right? Because those details there are looking absolutely mind blowing. I think that this game is much different than a lot of people had anticipated. You had all those people saying it was like a Left 4 Dead type game and all that kind of stuff. It's nothing like that, right? It's a story based game that has co op, but this game is going to be Arcane's biggest by far, right? This is going to be their game that is going to go out and draw in more people than ever before. So if that hits, imagine this, the 1, 2, 3 punch in the first half of this year. Starfield, Redfall, and then which we already know we're getting a date for now, and then Forza Motorsport, which is always a massive critical success, and I think going to be even more popular than ever before because of the success of Forza Horizon 5, launching Forza to another stratosphere in and of itself. So then you got that triple, excuse me for using the word bangers, in the first half of 1 year, not to mention other games coming out like Minecraft Legends as well, right? That it hits a whole nother market, it hits a whole nother audience. And then, oh, why don't we go ahead and sprinkle in Age of Empires 4 on console, Age 2 Definitive Edition on console. What we got this PC project, Ara. That's a strategy game. Why don't we just sprinkle that in there as well? Oh, hey, guess what? Here's GoldenEye for everybody that wants to play that. Oh, what else? What else we got? Like it is potentially the biggest year in Xbox's history for first party, and we're only right now talking about the first half.
Yeah, I mean it's now you just mentioned a whole mess of games, which is crazy. But when you consider that you're getting Stalker 2, you're getting let's see. What else is coming? Wulong is going to be dropping into Game Pass.
You got Replaced day one. Also this month we have games like first time on PlayStation and Xbox is Monster Hunter Rise. Getting Game Pass day one as well. Things like that can't really be overlooked. Another game that is being overlooked right now, but is massive. One of the biggest indie games out there was Hollow Knight, right? And Silk Song is hitting this year in Game Pass day one. And that game is going to be a very big deal when it hits. Whether a lot of people played the first one or not, the indie community is like, this is like the gym, right? This is like the darling of the indie community, right? When this comes out, it is going to blow up as much so, or maybe more so than like an Inside, right? Or games like that. So this is going to be a big deal when that hits. There's so many things, and there's so much more that we still don't know about. Rumors about Ubisoft Plus may actually be happening sometime soon as well. You have the friends and family deal as well. I mean, it's like, where are they going to stop?
Yeah, well, both of those things, again, it's they're out there, folks. Tim Dork is putting it out there about the friends and family plan. The Ubisoft Plus thing. If again, these what I'm going to tell you is facts. Please, by all means, cross-reference it and check it. If you go to Xbox Game Pass for PC, Ubisoft Plus has its own section now. That suggests that it's going to launch into the service, and it's expected that 30 titles are launching in that. 30 games from Ubisoft. Now, say what you want about Assassin's Creed and where it went and where it was used to be. That's up for debate on whether you like it or you don't. But you cannot argue that 30 of anything going into a service, and they're all high quality stuff. You're talking about Far Cry 6. You're talking about the latest Assassin's Creed Valhalla, and you just keep going and keep going and keep going, and it's again the value proposition of what they're offering is just it's insane to try and put together. But there's also one other thing. This comes the way of Jeff Grubb on Reddit. And of course, if you don't know who Jeff Grubb is, we used to know him as the guy with the best mane in the business. Well, he shaved it off, and now he looks like a regular dude. But you know what? Still love you, Jeff Grubb. Love the hair, but still love you. He actually put out there a couple of weeks ago that he has heard about the first quarter Xbox show happening, and he was correct in saying so. But one of those games that could be the one more thing or one of the surprise reveals at this event that is happening and confirmed to be happening is the game from Tango Gameworks. It has been described as a quote unquote Pentiment level game, meaning that it was built by a small team within Tango Gameworks. And from what we're hearing, the rumor is it's a cross between Jet Set Radio and a dance rhythm game. you know what? Sign me up. I am all for a new game like that. I don't know how about, I don't know anyone in the chat. I am dying for a new Jet Set Radio. If this is the closest thing that we get until the spiritual successor that's coming out, I'm good with that. I know that someone reached out to me this morning and said, "Hey, Boom, you have like these crazy expectations for the show. I don't want you to be let down." Nothing's going to let me down, folks. We know what's coming. I said this before, and I know Microsoft listens, folks, and that's the crazy thing. Microsoft or Xbox listens to this show or this channel, and that's mind blowing because I am not even at 12K yet. So I'm very humbled by that. I will say that. And one of my criticisms was about they have to address the elephant in the room. I've talked about it all week. In fact, we talked about it last week about Starfield letting us know when this is going to happen. What is it going to have its own show? And they did just that. Which again, is it because of me? Probably not. But I think I'm glad that I was talking about it, and most people agreed. Look, at the end of the day, Mav, we are on the cusp of seeing something that, as Xbox fans, we have all been waiting for. Like we have been waiting for this kind of year. Sony, Nintendo, they have had these years, multiple years of incredible releases. Finally, it's coming to fruition, folks. Xbox is going to have a ridiculous year. The first 6 months is so outrageous that I think you're going to have to pick a game and just stick with said game because it's just going to be too much. But I do want to catch up on the super chats before we move on to the big topic of the show, and that is the 8 games that are coming and whether or not it's enough. And the answer is, quite frankly, of course it's enough. It's ridiculous how many games are coming in the first half of the year. First super chat of the day comes the way of Sith Lord, who says, "Happy birthday to P3 and Game Pass Daily." Thank you so much for the generous $2, brother, and thank you for the happy birthday sentiments for both Phil and Game and Retri. The second one comes to us from Drawn TJ. He just a very generous $5 super chat. Says, "Hi everyone. Hi Mav. I hope in 2 years Microsoft buys Ubisoft and Bandai Namco and the people there that they are working with." I mean, we're going to talk about it. There's some real chatter that Ubisoft wants to be sold. I know that there's some potential issues with it because of the investment from Tencent. I don't know how that would work. The question we'll be asking tomorrow on Breakfast with Boom, which, by the way, King David of the Iron Lords will be joining us to talk about that and quite a few other hot button topics. I don't know. I mean, Ubisoft is a big company, man, and they are bleeding badly. I mean, they just announced the cancellation of 4 additional games. I don't know. I mean,
Stolen
look,
Bones just delayed again.
it was delayed for like the 6th time. Yeah, it's not
Yeah.
good. Look, I will say this, and I truly mean this. We have seen Sony do its due diligence for its fans to lock up exclusive IPs and content. Sometimes it's for 2 years, sometimes, like for instance, Silent Hill 2 remake. It's a forever burger, folks. It's never coming to Xbox. So where am I going to buy it? Well, I don't have a PC to run games, so I'm going to buy it on a PlayStation 5. And I love Silent Hill 2. It's pinnacle in the series, so I'll be buying that day one. But if anyone from Xbox is listening, and obviously right now Ubisoft is wounded, right? They need a cash influx to hopefully not lay off some of their staff. If I'm Microsoft, if I'm looking at this, and Microsoft has a great relationship with Ubisoft, what I would do, Mav, is I would lock up Splinter Cell as a permanent exclusive. I'd say, what is it that you need for development? Do you put some influx into the development dollars into this game, the same way Sony did for Street Fighter V, and lock up Sam Fisher as a permanent exclusive for the brand? I'm sorry, I know it might be for some people that's a D move, but you know, I say you play by Sony's rules, and being that they have a lot more money to burn than Sony, outside of your third-party deals, your Xbox Game Pass deals, your first-party games, it'd be really nice to be able to say, "Hey, the next Splinter Cell, guess what, folks? Xbox only."
Yeah.
I'd love
Well,
it.
yeah, and Sony's playbook though, that's organic, right? Because
That's organic growth. That is correct.
Splinter Cell
Yes,
used to be Xbox exclusive back in the day
it
as
was.
well. Lots of games in the 360 era were actually
Mass Effect,
and before
BioShock,
previous to
plenty
that,
of
yeah.
them. Yeah, mhm.
And Splinter Cell is one of my favorite franchises,
Me
like
too.
of all
I
time.
agree.
There's Halo is 1A, and Splinter Cell is like 1B for me. And we had a whole generation go by without Splinter Cell,
Isn't
which
that
crushed me.
insane
A
that
long
the only
generation too.
Sam Fisher we got was like a side mission in Ghost Recon? Like
It
that's
was
crazy.
blasphemy. It's crazy. Now it's getting rebooted supposedly if they don't cancel this as well, like they've canceled everything. But we on our channel we talked a lot about worries about Ubisoft and the last couple years because of all of the announcements that they had been making didn't really fit with the direction that I thought was a good direction for Ubisoft to go. And I think we're seeing a lot of the fallout from a lot of those moves now because they had all those free to play experiments that they've been working on and stuff behind the scenes with insiders, to play beta testing and stuff like that, and play testing these things and no nothing positive about anything really. And Skull and Bones have been going through the same thing, getting pushed back again and again and again because of bad feedback. I just want them to get on track and give us the classic style Ubisoft games that we used to get in the 360 generation and prior. Even early Xbox One generation was pretty good as well. But I kind of I miss it, man. They might as well just be called Assassin's Creed. That's what Ubisoft is right now. Just Assassin's Creed, the studio, right? And a bunch of experiments that we'll see what happens. But yeah, I think I still have high hopes. They have so much talent there. I think they just have bad management, bad leadership, bad
Yeah.
ownership,
Yep.
um, and all of the above. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, that's enough about Ubisoft though.
Yeah, I mean, listen,
Yeah,
they're in a bit of trouble. It's sad to see, to be honest with you. But hopefully, like I said, they might take the route of locking up an exclusive with a particular brand. I hope Microsoft, pulls the trigger, pun intended,
yeah,
and gets Splinter Cell locked up as an exclusive. I'm sorry, I think they should do that. When I think of Sam Fisher, I think of Xbox.
yeah,
Same way when I think about Laura Croft, even though I know that she was a multi-platform many years, I think of PlayStation because that's where she first turned up. So for me, being an OG, when I think of Laura Croft, I think of PlayStation. So I'd like to see Microsoft make that kind of a deal, and not just the Xbox Game Pass deal. Like get in there and be like, you know what, we're going to pull a page right out of Sony's book. Lock up Sam Fisher. All right, we're going to help development dollars in this, and inject it into it, make it a great game. And I think that should happen. But I do want to continue with the super chats, folks. So we have Highlander 001 drops a very generous $10 super chat and says, "Afternoon, Boom and Matt. Fallout 76 just went to PlayStation Plus." That's right, it absolutely did. And the Sony players are enjoying it. Well, look at that, folks. They're enjoying a game that's on Xbox. Shocking. He says also, Final Fantasy director said he wants to play Final Fantasy. If you want to play Final Fantasy 16, get a PS5. Yeah, I talked about that the other day. I actually tweeted about it. I look, folks, Square Enix is just dumb. I'm sorry. I look, I get it that they're in bed with Sony. I totally understand from the financial situation that they're in. They're another failing company. They're a failing company because of their own self and their own dumb moves.
yeah. They have no long
PlayStation,
term vision. It's just short term, like
it
take
is.
what they can get.
It's short term influx of cash, and then they're stuck holding the bag. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's dumb. I don't know. They're going to wind up being acquired by somebody. I know that everyone's like, yeah, Sony. They're ripe for acquisition. Look, I'm going to be honest with you. I said this in jest. I don't think Sony wants them because of the trouble that they are in. I don't even think Square Enix wants themselves at this point. I just think they're just making such dumb moves. It doesn't make any sense. Like I said, I understand exclusivity, and with that comes a big payout. But if Final Fantasy VII's numbers are not indicative of, well, maybe if we release this on the Xbox, we could see an influx of maybe 2, 3, 4 million additional sales of the game. I don't know. I'm not a business major, folks. I'm just a gamer, and I think that it's dumb. I'm sorry. That's it. Drawn TJ drops an additional $5 super chat and says Forza Motorsport 8 March and Starfield April. Possibly.
We'll
How
see.
I see it playing out, if I may. Starfield is going to go in 3/23/23. The next big first party IP, so it's everyone stays out of Starfield's way, is probably going to come in May. I think May we get Redfall. I think in June, folks, we get Forza Motorsport. I don't know
We
where
we are
Minecraft.
on the exact same page,
Yeah.
Boom.
Yeah, that's how I see it playing. Again, I have no inside track to it. It's just, pardon me, my opinion. But I do want to talk about the big topic of the show. We have another 10 or 15 minutes, and we'll get everyone out of here because again, this is just one of the smaller shows, folks, of the week. But look, what we know is coming in the first 6 months is Age of Empires, Redfall, Minecraft Legends, Starfield, Age of Empires 4, the one that you talked about earlier, Aria, History Untold, Forza Motorsport, and Ghostwire Tokyo. Now, the question that I asked the community and I put out in the, as the headline for the show is, are these 8 games enough for Xbox gamers when you consider that they have all of these other games, these big, I mean, Lies of P is probably one of the biggest games that are coming to Xbox Game Pass day and date. And the buzz around this is getting the same similar buzz of Elden Ring, folks. That is a monster title to get into Xbox Game Pass. Now it's a multi-plat, sure, but millions of people that never played these souls like games are going to get a chance to play, and we saw what happened. Elden Ring didn't come to Game Pass, and it sold gangbuster numbers on the Xbox, specifically in the UK. It outsold the PlayStation version, which is shocking because that's PlayStation Town. For you, Mav, knowing what's coming into Game Pass and these 8 particular titles in the first 6 months, coming from January to June, do you feel that this is Xbox delivering on their promise?
Oh yeah, I mean for sure. It's an insane lineup, right? I in the back of my mind, I'm like, where would they be without ZeniMax Bethesda, right? Because like Redfall and Starfield are a huge part of that. Now those supposed to be 2022 games, got moved to this year, but they did acquire them for this reason to add this pipeline of content. Um, I feel like the front half of this year is so loaded because of 2022, right? All the delays. Um, and yes, it's enough. But then at the back of I'm like, it's never enough. I always want more. So yes, that all kidding aside, it's definitely more than anybody could ever hope for, and more than we all have any reasonable amount of time to play, right? Because these are
Yeah.
not these are not like just small games, right? I mean, especially when you couple in there that there's also going to be a lot of great third party games dropping as well, either into Game Pass, but also just in the market as well. Like Diablo 4 is coming out, which is going to be insanely huge as well. So you add all this up together in the first 6 months, it's like it is one of the most jam-packed times for games that I can remember ever in a short period. The interesting thing I want to add to this, Boom, real quick, is we talk about these 8 games, right? All slated for, or at least most of them, majority of them slated for the first half of this year right now. Okay. Aaron Greenberg, as I said, added fuel to that fire in his tweet, in my opinion, as well as the fact that we're getting dates on Redfall and Forza Motorsport at this show on January 25th, right? So we add this up. Once June hits and we get to E3 time, Xbox has a clean slate. what is that E3 show going to be like when we absolutely have no clue what to expect there because all these games just released? You want to talk about having a lot of fun, being excited about Xbox and where they're going? Have a 6-month period where you have potentially 8 first party games release and then sit down and watch a show in June where you have another massive amount of games announced to be launching within the next 12 months. That's what the future of Xbox is. And that is insane if you really want to think about it. Now, we talked about this numerous times about all these acquisitions and how they were going to have to try and find ways to fit all these games in and everything like that. Game Pass takes care of that problem because you're not asking everybody to spend $70 on every game that they buy, where people don't have enough money to buy 10 games. You're asking more people to sign up for a subscription service. This is the future of where this is going. And this is the first year we're seeing it in its vision. And it's going to hit with the first game that releases, again, my opinion, to be Starfield. The rest of those games, which include a lot of variety, especially if that Tango Gameworks game hits, you add that and you add GoldenEye as if you want to count that, that's 10. Then you will talk about the second half of the year. You want to talk about the second half of the year? How many first party games could potentially release this year on consoles, on the Xbox ecosystem?
Yeah.
I mean, you're talking 10 plus. And if you don't see the value in that for buying a Series S at $300 or less, or
dude, right now you can find it in some
subscription,
places $229.
It's insane.
$229
to go get a Series S. You get a Game Pass subscription. You talk about such a low entry point to be able to access this content. You don't even need a console, Boom. If you got a janky laptop or an old PC, or you got a new TV with one of the Samsung apps on it, or you got a mobile device, right?
Yep.
You can access this ecosystem, and that's what they're going for, man. They want to push this hardcore gaming, but that also has a lot of variety that approaches a lot of different gamers, and they want to push it out there to be and cast a wide net, right? No more focusing on just singular boxes, in which even if you only account for that, they're still gaining market share in the hardware space as well, as opposed to last generation. Imagine what this year's going to do for them once all these games drop. Once all these games drop, we've already been growing Game Pass numbers within the Xbox ecosystem. They've already been selling more consoles than they've ever had before. And that doesn't even equate for the rest of the ecosystem altogether. Imagine what's going to happen once all these games drop and then people know this is what to expect going forward. And that's the key.
Yeah, I mean, the name I couldn't remember, Atomic Heart.
Yeah.
Why So Serious put it in there. God, that looks so good. Like
Atomic Heart, Stalker 2s this year. You got they had reiterated that already. Hopefully that actually happens, and all these indie games, and I mean, Wolong, Liza P, as well as, like you said, you got
it's literally so many, dude, that it's bonkers, bro.
Wow.
It's why not get excited? Honestly, why not get excited? But listen,
this is why Pong Soul calls it the golden age of gaming.
Golden age of and he knows something. He's not wrong, dude. He is not wrong. I am thrilled to be a gamer. Honestly, what could you say, folks? Like you and I, many people in the chat. We have, first of all, over 500 people here. I think that's a first for this particular show. This is a relatively new venture that I added, last year. Xvlog Live is the one-on-one segment. I get a chance to sit down with some of the greatest in the industry, Mav being one of them. And we get to have a conversation. We hit a couple of topics. It's only meant to be about 60 or 70 minutes, which we're running up on now. I will close with saying, and I got to catch up on the super chats. Microsoft's first half is ridiculous. Now, there are some question marks and some concerns for a lot of people for the second half. Microsoft has notoriously forgot that there are 12 months of the year. They overload a 6-month block and we're kind of left holding the bag. Now, for some people and for some games like a Starfield, which is going to be a life eater, that game is going to eat people's lives because it's going to be so vast and so open, and the hype behind this game is for real. Like it's going to be the biggest game of the year. The second half, what I'm hearing is we're getting Hellblade in holiday. Right now, I'm not the first to say that. I've heard it from other sources. I've heard it from a personal source of mine that is expected to launch in November of 2023. Will it happen? Well, I don't know. I don't work for Ninja Theory. I'm only telling you what I've heard through the grapevine, but I'm not the only one. Jeff Grubb has talked about this, and many others. Um, I'm hoping that we get two big Microsoft Game Studios titles in the fall, and they continue their onslaught with Game Pass deliveries of day and date games, and you get a couple of third and second party stuff in there. It's going to be a banner year. And like I said, when you consider the first half of the year, folks, you consider Ubisoft Plus potentially launching into the service, Xbox Friends and Family officially launching here in the United States, and then the cherry on top of this beautiful, very large banana boat Sunday is ABK closing. I
Yeah.
don't know if you could in your wildest imagination, Mav, come up with this storybook ending for Microsoft in 2023. What are your thoughts on that before we get out of here?
Yeah, that the my thoughts are that last year all we really had to talk about was ABK. This year, that's going to be paired up with all of these game launches and all these game releases, all this game news. So this year for content creators and podcasters, and especially it's going to be a different story because we got lots of stuff to talk about, even without even having to talk about ABK. But that's going to be going on behind the scenes this whole time, and at some point this year, it's going to close as well. And imagine it does again, like I just talked about it. Imagine it happens before E3, right? And then you add that to whatever that showing time is gonna be like in the middle of the
Ridiculous.
year,
Yep.
after the incredible first half of the year that Xbox is bound to have. Um, it's insane, and you talk about mindshare, right? Talk about mindshare. Xbox is going to be talked about more than any other platform by far this year because of the amount of games dropping, because of the ABK deal, because of the acquisition when it closes and what that's going to mean, and the library entering Game Pass as well, and all that kind of stuff. I mean, you're talking about a huge deal, a huge deal. I expect the Game Pass numbers to explode this year. Phil Spencer in the previously had said like maybe they were approaching, around the level of console players to expect for Game Pass. I think they are underselling it on purpose when they said
Yep.
that.
Yep.
And when these games start dropping, the ABK deal closes and all that stuff, I think you're going to see a mass flood of subscriptions into that service, which is good for all of us because the more investment that they have into that means the more companies that are willing to put their games in the service day one as well. And
Yes.
it's
Yes.
also means that the more investment from Microsoft and even into more first parties and all that kind of stuff. So I love what they're doing. And as bad as 2022 was, even though we had lots of fun playing lots of different games, first party was a down year, right? Only a couple titles and smaller titles. This year is you got everything, everything under the sun.
Well, listen, ladies and gentlemen, that is going to do it. Let me catch up on a few super chats that popped in on the back end. Drawn TJ drops an additional $5 super chat and says, "Hey Mav, why are you not a motivational speaker? You would kill it." That's funny. I agree there. And Highlander 001 drops a very generous additional $5 super chat and says, "I'm not worried about 2023. We will be feasting. I'm worried about 2024. I want a new Spyro Dragon for my daughter. As a matter of fact, that was one of the stories we didn't cover. Apparently, a new Spyro is in the works from Toys for Bob. I don't know if that's going to be an exclusive for Xbox once ABK is done, but that is definitely in the works. And I hope that whatever they do next is Banjo Kazooie. I'm just throwing it out there. Itchy in the chat drops a very generous $2 super chat and says 2023 will be a great year for Xbox. Indeed, it will. And Double X Wolverine 3, or no, Wolverine Double X drops a very generous $5 super chat and says, "I'm greedy. So I'd like to see Microsoft buy them or buy IP from them, but probably not possible. I just say invest in a particular IP, i.e., a Splinter Cell, and lock that up as an exclusive for Xbox. Sorry, not to be a jerk, but that's what they should do. But real quick before we get out of here, I'm going to throw an advertisement up on the screen. This is something that my wife and I have announced that we're doing this year. We have decided our first big giveaway for 2023 are 15 copies of Stalker 2. And the reason why we're doing that is we're not buying Game Pass subscriptions, we're buying the game. So that team that was displaced out of Ukraine due to the war and is now with their family safe in Brussels, from what I understand, will get a good chunk of the money. And again, I know 15 copies sounds like a lot, but considering what they've been through, it's our the way I described it last night on Primetime Gaming, it's the little guy helping the little guy. And we are donating those 15 copies to the first half of those will go to channel members. And the second half, anyone that is in the chat, we will be doing a 60-minute launch party stream for Stalker 2 when it's announced, and we will be giving away those 15 copies. They will be purchased. And again, folks, that's a lot of the super chats that we have been getting since last year. We've been putting away, and that is what is ultimately going to help pay for this. Because obviously I'm retired, so the funds are limited. But we wanted to do a contest that both helped the community in giving away these 15 copies of Stalker 2, but also somewhat help a developer that has been through the ringer. And the fact that they're going to get their 70%, obviously, of the sales is why we are doing it. Here is the advertisement for that, just so you can take a look at it. Yes, I did create this myself. I love it. It's one of my best ones yet. But yes, we are giving away 15 copies of Stalker 2, Heart of Chernobyl. And we'll obviously have more details once the developer confirms what they're doing in regards to the release. But listen, Mav, thank you so much for taking the time to be here with me. Please, by all means, sell your brand, brother. Talk about, Mav, where they can find you on YouTube, where they can subscribe to your incredible YouTube channel that is loaded with content, and more importantly, where can people reach out to you on social media?
First off, that's a cool idea for a giveaway, Boom. So I just
Thank
got to
you, sir.
say, that's a great idea there. Shout out to the developers over there, and hope we get to play it this year. But if you want to check out what we got going on, just find on YouTube Fun Speculation, where you can see lots of shows. We have 3 podcasts. Monday nights is Fun Speculation podcast at 10 p.m. Eastern Time. Thursdays, that means tonight. Today is a Thursday, everybody. So tonight at 7 p.m. Eastern Time, Pong Soul and I have a 2-man show called PM and the PM, where we deep dive on topics, and we're gonna go deep tonight. We're gonna go real deep, and we'll have a lot of fun. Tomorrow night, Friday nights, Xbox Ultimate Podcast, 9 p.m. Eastern this week. And this week we got Gaz from Game On Daily is
Very
joining
nice.
us, dude. So we're
Nice.
super excited to have him on as well. And we got game streams. Boom. When I have time, I drop a video here and there, and lots of other stuff that we do. We will be co-streaming the January 25th event as well on our channel. So I don't know if you're doing the same thing, Boom, but
No, we're going to cover it at night. We're going to have
okay.
a monster 10+ person panel to react to and discuss. The whole show is going to be dedicated to this event. Yeah, so that's primetime gaming. I'm going to let everyone get out of everyone's way for that. Who's going to be streaming it live? I just want to watch it as a fan. Like I want to sit
Yeah,
back on
I
my
hear
couch
you.
and just chill.
Yeah, we have a lot of fun. Pong will be joining me on that as well. I don't know who all will be there, but we will be co-streaming the event on the 25th as well. So come
Nice.
hang out with us on Fun Speculation and check that out. Twitter Fun Speculation as well if you want to see when we're going live and any of my nonsensical tweets. But I hope everyone has a good one. The chat was amazing as always. Boom.
Yeah, listen, this chat is the best. Obviously, they're very generous. They're very respectful. Every now and again, you get a knucklehead. But we have someone in the chat that is a silent ninja known as Lethal Papa. Obviously, it's because of Lethal's incredible, dedicated work that we have a chat like this, that people just want to come and talk about gaming and interact with each other without being a d-bag. And he is very lenient in the fact that he gives people chances to get themselves banned, and then eventually he has my full authority that if he feels you're being racist or sexist or anything else like that, homophobic, we don't tolerate any kind of that shenanigans here. Everyone is welcomed. Race, creed, color, religion, sexual orientation. We love everyone, and everyone should have a place to come and hang out. And it's because of him and several of the modders that we have here that keep this particular chat as one of the best in the business. And I cannot thank him and the additional modders enough, because, obviously I pride myself on trying to put out great content, but this chat is legendary great. So thank you, and a shout out to everyone that is here each and time we do a live show. And of course, a big shout out to all the super chats that have come in. Again, I explained to you where they're going specifically this year. 10-15 copies of this game is going to cost a lot of money. And, again, we don't mind doing it. But what happens on the back end is because YouTube takes 30%, Mrs. Boomstick and I make up that 30% that they take, and we add it to the pot, and that's how the magic is made. And last year we gave away $3,500 worth of gift cards. We're going to try and at least match it this year. And this is the first big one of the year, first big giveaway. A huge shout out to everyone that helps contribute through super chats and, of course, channel membership. And I will close out today's show, Mav, with something that is important to me. Hopefully one day it'll be important to you and everyone else. And that's something that my dad taught us when we were kids. And he would say, Craig, treat others how you want to be treated. And also, it doesn't cost anything to be nice. You live by those rules, son. I can guarantee you're going to have an awesome day. So take care of everyone. And we'll see you next week on the newest episode of X Vlog Live.